Okay, I'm gonna examine, expose, and ultimately defend my potential hypocrisy as a song critic, and as someone who makes videos that purport to give people a pathway to getting started as songwriters. Um, and here's the hypocrisy: I don't value feedback much at all. I don't seek it really out much at all, and I don't generally find it to be helpful at all, even when well intentioned. And I certainly recognize with some warmth in my heart when people are courteous and trying to be helpful, and I respect people's behavior and their character in delivering that kind of thing, and how and what they intend, what their intent is. And I don't mean to step on that at all. But the truth of the matter is, I do almost nothing in response to feedback from other people about my writing. And the reason that I am that way is that in general, feedback that's given fails to recognize what path I'm actually on. For almost 40 years, I've been writing in a very unusual, unique, idiomatic way that is, deeply cultivated and has its own internal consistency and its own kind of rules of the road that I've crafted, and that may or may not make apparent sense to other people on a first listen or a 30th listen. But I love it and will never stop doing it because it's the thing that I love doing. Like, this is the beautiful music that, for me, I am trying to perfect to my own satisfaction. And it's a deeply personal journey. And a lot of it has to do with exploring kind of beautiful dissonances and unusual chords, and where unusual chords and unusual scales lead me, and just eschewing a lot of sort of the traditional bedrock of kind of the broad umbrella of Western tonal music. So I personally, my goal, I might sometimes state it as, I want to kind of pass as tonal music, but upon scrutiny, someone who knows would say, wait a second, how this doesn't make sense on paper. So let me give you a recent example. So this is the newest song I've written, and I posted a demo of it. And when I post demos, is mostly for the convenience of the band to be able to get, to introduce the song to the band before we've really had a chance to do anything. Maybe it's something that I'm going to want to play at the next gig, and I want to give them a chance to think through what they're going to bring to the table before we dive in. So usually when I post a demo, it gets 5 views, which are from the band, and I don't bother sharing it on our page or directing any traffic to it. This one, for whatever reason, kind of took off, relatively speaking, and got 50 views, and somebody commented, and they provided some very respectful, well-meaning, well-intentioned feedback, and something that I can understand where they're coming from, but I'm going to completely reject doing anything about it or even responding to it, because I don't. And I'll get to why I'm not responding momentarily. So these are the chords of the verse of that new song. And this is kind of the melody. I don't have the words memorized, but it's check out the whole demo there, because the secret's out, cat's out of the bag, and everybody can listen to it. So here's what he says. He says, "Hey man, all love. If you're not looking for creative criticism, then ignore me, but I would change out that second chord. I think it clashes with the earlier one and your vocals. That being said, I rock with the song, keep them coming." So totally, obviously, very polite, very courteous, very well-meaning. He's saying something that he believes is a helpful thing to point out to me. Like, I don't know about that chord. And here's the thing. This is why I'm going to reject that piece of criticism. I'm my own arbiter, and I trust myself to know, my own barometer of like, yeah, that's a good one. That is an interesting chord in juxtaposition to the first one, in juxtaposition to the third one. I like how that, cracks open a new door for me to walk through melodically. And I have spent almost 40 years writing songs with weird chords and dissonant chords and cluster voicings and scales that pivot around weird inflections and things that on paper don't necessarily fit the mold. And so the main reason that most feedback that I might get, and I do get feedback, I get unsolicited feedback all the time. If I post something on a songwriters forum that I'm just looking to like share, maybe network, hopefully get a few. I'm such a small artist that to me having 10 new unique listeners is a huge boost for me to try to like get out of the basement. But I'm very committed to the path I've chosen, the kind of songs that I write, and the dissonant choices, the uniqueness of how I approach things is something I've spent, again, 40 years cultivating, and I'm not gonna like suddenly stop. And a lot of the feedback that I receive, well-meaning or otherwise, applying Lowe's law of criticism, kind of boils down to, this is weird. This is I don't get this. I don't get it. If you did this, I'd get it a little better, I think. And while legitimate, yeah, I've written something that it doesn't look like you're gonna get, and if I did, you can see a place where I'm touching something that you do get, and if I were to plaster over this other thing, then you might get more of it. That's what a lot of the feedback comes down to. And so my reaction to that internally is, I'm not getting off of this road to go over there and make this more conventional. I get that I may never really connect that way with everybody on a first listen, but yet, I know that when I'm out singing for audiences, I do. Like, I can slip it in under the radar in a number of ways. I can find ways to connect. Now, of course, I'm not, a hit songwriter. I'm not anyone you've heard of. So it's easy to dismiss what I'm saying. But what's important to me is what's most important. What's important to me is that I'm going to continue doing this because this is what brings me joy. This is what I love. I love writing these songs that are kind of cut from their own cloth, that don't meet other expectations. And I think about, like I've encountered this my entire life, and especially my young life, going from high school, making this kind of decision and starting down that road, to college as a music composition major and facing the scrutiny of both my peers and in the program, and also the mentors and faculty who were paid to scrutinize and criticize my efforts. What I came to understand, like my primary composition professor was the probably I'm just going to say the world's foremost expert composer in terms of fusing world music with opera, and in particular had, was at the time that I was, with him, was fusing the gamelan from Indonesia into an opera called Matahari. And I think about how, like, the most surface level critique of listening to his music is, I don't get it. And if you did this, then I'd get it. And I could no more really offer him deep and meaningful criticism that was properly grounded in what he was actually trying to do, because I lacked any of that legwork. I didn't know jack about the gamelan, about its tonality, or really jack about opera and the other traditions that he was trying to blend. For me to say something meaningful would have been useless. If you handed it to me and said, go ahead, give me some feedback, whatever I came up with, well-meaning, respectful, probably just wouldn't have been very useful. And to his credit, he didn't try to move me off my path. And he would be very open about, I don't always get what you're trying to do. But my feedback for you is, can you, it wasn't really feedback, but what he would do instead is sort of challenge me to explain in whatever terms I could what I was trying to do, what I liked about this, and it was okay if the answer is, I don't know, I just kind of liked how it sounds. Then we kind of maybe dance around a little and see if there was something else there, something more that's inside that maybe there's something about it that specifically I would like in a different context as well to put in my back pocket. That was really a good approach to being my mentor when we don't write the same kind of music. And I've always appreciated that about him. And I've also appreciated that he gently led me to the place of believing that it's okay for you to just be confident about what you're trying to do and to be deeply and precisely introspective. And I talk a little bit about that in a much shorter, thankfully, shorter video about, feedback versus self-evaluation, and about, that tenet that I believe that as a songwriter you have to move to a place where you know what you're trying to do, and you can at least express it to yourself, and that you ground, that you're much better at looking at what you're trying to do, and did I accomplish it? What am I happy about with this outcome? How does this song sound to me, feel to me? Did I nail it? Do I know that I struggled in this area and I'm not sure if I really got it? Being able to start with your critique and to hold that above all others, and to kind of maybe put out a few feelers when it seems appropriate. So for me, and as I kind of alluded, the most helpful thing that I want out of feedback is kind of straw polling. I want to know something that's hard for me to tell, which is, to someone who's not on the same path right next to me, to someone who's not deeply immersed in what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, everything that's come before it, everything that is resting upon, I might think, I think this is the best song in the album. But a lot of times when I turn it to my friends or people who, sort of the people who have been with me the longest in this journey, longest on this journey, that sounds so, I know, it sounds so full of it, but the people who are my longest term listeners, the people who are like the most invested and somehow or another are, you know, finding some of the beauty in what I'm writing that I think is there. When I turn to them and say, you know, what are the five? Listen to this album and tell me the 5 songs that stand out as the best to you. Sometimes they surprise me, and then I kind of come around to see what they're, you know, I trust them. I may still think that my favorite is this one that nobody chose. I may still think that, you know, this particular song I have some extra information about, like how it goes over with audiences, but it's something about it is not coming through in this recording or whatever. Like that's the stuff that's most interesting to me, is to just get kind of like yes or no. Like this you know, 2 versions of the same song. Which one do you like best? Sometimes it echoes what I'm feeling in my gut, and sometimes it surprises me. And sometimes there are songs that I don't think much about that come back around, and through that kind of feedback, get a second chance, and then the light goes off with me. Like, okay, yeah, I see what's fun about this. I see, you know, I may have thought that, oh, dance with me anyway. We should say these are songs that I didn't think much about, but actually have, you know, I've been convinced through feedback of people I trust that I should give them a second chance. But as far as like removing a chord because it has this beautiful dissonance in it, like that's just who I am. That's just how I write, and I'm very comfortable with that, and I'm not looking to change that, or, you know, the feedback that boils down to, I don't get it. If you did something a little different, I might get it. And not to be flip, this feedback was very respectful. But the reason I'm not going to respond to it is I don't need to change his instinct to say something respectful and to say something helpful. A helpful, respectful person is a good person. I don't need to like put him in his place and say, actually, what you don't realize is that I've been writing kind of outsider chords for 40 years, and I have my own system, and I'm really committed to it, and I'm just going to keep on doing that, and I'm going to be my own best critic. But that is also, you know, whiny voice aside, that is how I feel about it. Is, you know, I'm not going to end up doing anything with that feedback. I'm not going to change the second chord, nor am I going to let that affect my confidence about the second chord. I love that second chord. I love where this song is headed. I'm excited about this song, and a big part of it is I think I found a really cool set of changes that, you know, give me quite a wide field to play in, and I'm excited about exploring it with the band. So my takeaway for all of you out there is, like I've said in my, again, shorter self-evaluation video, don't let criticism be too important in your decision making. Like, take it at a distance. Take it with a real big grain of salt. Take it using kind of Lowe's laws to inform your self-evaluation, but let your self-evaluation always rule the day. Like, be confident that you know best, because you do. Only you know, whether you can articulate it, only you know where you're headed and where your feet are going on this road, and how far down the road you want to go and which turns you want to take. You get to make that journey. No one else gets to tell you you're doing it wrong. Not me, not anybody. And I'm as guilty as anybody of giving feedback that might, you know, that suggests, oh, you might try this, and that suggestion is not what you had in mind. Throw me out the window, man. Dude, friend. All of you. You know, don't pay attention to me if it doesn't help you. And don't pay attention to anyone else if it's not helping you. Pay attention to yourself, and just keep on refining your own instincts and your own microscope to know if you are nailing it or not by your own measure. So get out there, write, and I'm going to keep this chord. Lovely.